All right, I will say, good evening, a good night of Shabbos. Begin by thanking all of our sponsors. To thank Eliyahu Ramenfar for sponsoring the Shir, for an Aliyah for the Neshamas of all of the murdered civilian and fallen soldiers of Eretz Yisrael, for the safe return of all the hostages back to their families, B'Shalom and B'Karov. Reb Ruven Reznikov for the Schusser Refuah Shlema for Leah Bas Etka Perel, Mordechai Bas Ben Rus, and in gratitude to Hashem for blessing Sarah Tema Bas Chana Rashka with the Refuah Shlema. Steve Glaskov also for dedicating tonight for Refuah Shlema, merit Refuah Shlema for Anonymous. Okay, we hope that the Rofei Kolbasa the Ribono Shalom will, Emir Hashem, give a refuah to all those who are in need of one. Chalish Baruch Hu should bring home all of our hostages, B'Shalom and B'Karov, should allow our soldiers to be successful. B'Chol Ma'asei Yodeim and Halalahu should be zocha. That's still in this last month of Tafshin Pei Daled of 5784. We should be zocha, Emir Hashem, to see the Geula, to see Mashiach, to see Tchias HaMesim, to see our Beis HaMikdash from here, Rabbi Yameinu. Amen. And I will say, as always, a tremendous thank you to Reb Tzvi for the beautiful spread, and again to our assistant head chef, if that's Rabbi Yaakov Barnstein, Baruch Hashem, for it looks like there's two types of hummus with meat today. Baruch Hashem, incredible. It's becoming too good. It's becoming too good. The Gashmis is eclipsing the Ruchnias. I don't know what we're gonna have to do next week. Sheet cake and egg salad from last week. Shalosh of this. That's happening. All right, so let's begin. It's an incredible schos, Baruch Hashem, to be able to enter into Chodesh Elul with the Rebbe, and the Rebbe always steers us, right? It's incredible also always to see how the words of the Rebbe always seem to give us exactly what we need for exactly the time frame in which we find us. Also, I would also encourage you, a number of new Chaburah who are joining us here tonight for the Vasikin, for the people who have been here for a while. Be hospitable. Say Shalom Aleichem. If you see someone who you don't recognize, introduce yourself. Say hello. There's nothing that brings. Nothing brings Jews together like Torah. There's one thing that does more, which is schnitzel, right? It's incredible. It's the power, right? The power of fried foods. The power of fried foods, Baruch Hashem, to be able to bring people together. But on a serious note, part of the beauty of our shir, part of the beauty of our limud, is this isn't just stam a shir. This is a chaburah. But what's there between a shir and a chaburah? So you could go to a shir and you may not know anyone else in there. You may not know anyone else in there, and it's fine. You go for the shir. A chaburah, what makes a chaburah is the chevra. Is that I'm not only learning, but I'm learning with a particular group. And so it's important that we become a chevra also. So if there are people here you don't know, make sure to introduce yourself. Make sure to say Shalom Aleichem, so that the chaburah could really become a chevra. Miras Hashem. So also with that, tonight we're starting in Sif Chaf Hey. So remember again, we are continuing in Tzav V'Zerus. And remember again, the diary of the Rebbe. So in Chaf Hey, the Rebbe says, this is an incredibly profound. If anyone needs sheets, there are additional sheets over here as well. So we'll say, so this is an incredibly profound piece. So the Rebbe says as follows. He says, Al tifku lememis atzmo bilvad. He says, don't simply go ahead and cry for someone who has taken their own life. Now I will say, we're going to see that tonight, the pieces we're going to do tonight are incredibly intense and incredibly heavy. And we're going to see a little bit of historical context as well to what the Rebbe is referring to. But he says as follows. He says, don't only cry for a person who chas v'shalom takes their own life. Don't only cry for such a person like that. He says, B'chu b'chol gam laholech v'mes. Also cry for the person who has a continuous journey towards death. So there are some people who Rahman al-Islam take their lives. So their life is over in a moment. And then the Rebbe says, we cry for those people, of course. But also cry for the people, gam laholech v'mes. For people who gradually die. Holech v'meis means they don't die instantaneously, like someone who takes their life, but they die gradually. Page Shin Mem Aleph. Ha'olam.
Is there anything to be read into the word bilvad? Why does it seems like extra? No, just trying to say something with that, or no?
No, you're going to see. No, what he's saying is like this. People think that like the worst kind of pain or the worst kind of loss is when someone takes their own life. So the bilvad means don't think that this is the only one acute source of pain. But rather he says, Gam b'chol b'chol gam laholech v'mes. There are people who don't die instantly, rather they die gradually. What? I will say, let's get into this. Shin Mem Aleph, he says as follows. He says, what are we referring to? He says, Ha'olam misonin al hafkaras ha'chayim case. He says, now people are very much focused on Rahman al-Islam, people who are killing themselves, taking their lives. Now I will say, in the footnote over here, if you notice, he's talking about over here sometime in the mid-20s, between 1926 and 1928. There, right? So there was a massive depression, a massive financial setback, right? So the Rebbe says many people lost their money, and as such, again, people were taking their lives. So he says now this is like an issue front and center of people taking their own lives. So the Rebbe says, and that's tragic, and that's horrible. That's not. But the Rebbe says, "V'ani mosif lidog gam al hachay haholech." But I'm also concerned about the people who are technically, biologically alive. They're still alive, continuing on. Lo himis es atzmo. Such a person didn't kill himself. He didn't take his life. Umikol makom mesu. But yet, he's dead. So the Rebbe says there are some people who are biologically alive, yet at the end of the day, they're like they're dead. What's the pshat? Hachayim na'asu zol behefker eslo. For some people, life becomes cheap. Life becomes nothing in their eyes. Lichios, olo lichios, achas hilo. Whether to live or not to live, it doesn't matter. And I will say, so you would think maybe there was somebody who's depressed. Someone who's depressed, they don't care if they live, they don't care that. That's not what he's referring to. What should he write? He says, Mitchila, haya hayetza, hara tzarch lis ametz lahabi es ha'ish lidei kfira, bidin, b'dayin Rahman al-Islam. So I'll say, this is incredible. The Rebbe writes, like, in the good old days, if the Yetzer Hara wanted to make someone into an apikores, into a kofar, right, into someone who didn't believe, the Yetzer Hara had to work very hard. Right? The Yetzer Hara had to work very hard to make someone turn against the Chadash Baruch Hu, to make someone turn against their faith, to make someone turn against Torah. He says, Ad sheyiv god b'shem elokav chas v'shalom, v'lo b'nokel v'lo somid al salozos. And again, the Piacezna writes that most times Yetzer Hara failed because to turn a Jew against HaKadosh Baruch Hu is so difficult. To turn a Yid against Torah is so incredibly difficult. Yetzer Hara would work to go out and do this, and sometimes it worked, but very often it didn't. Now look what he writes. He says, Va'ata hispona. The Piacezna says, but now I contemplate, V'ra'isi anoshim she'inon kofrim. I see a lot of people who technically they believe they're not kofrim. V'holchrim b'shrirus libam. The issue is they just do whatever they want. So they're not kofrim, they're not agnostics, they're not rebelling against HaKadosh Baruch Hu. They're just simply doing whatever they want. They go, literally, holchim b'shrirus libam means they go wherever their heart wants them to go. Rak mipnei ha'anochi shalahem shehuzal b'hofkar etzlam. Now, we'll see, this is a very profound statement, because their sense of self has become so profoundly cheapened. Yamos, Yichya, they don't really care if they live, if they die. Gan Eden, Gehenom, Lemila Anochi Shalo. I go to Gan Eden, go to Gehenom, it doesn't matter. We'll say, what is the Rebbe describing over here? What the Rebbe is describing over here is apathy. That as terrible as it is when a person takes their life, there's almost something as terrible when a person lives a life of apathy. Because what's apathy? Apathy is a slow death. Apathy is you just going through the motions. And by the way, the Rebbe will write over here, sometimes again we'll see a person who's apathetic behaviorally is doing all the right things. Right? They're checking all of the boxes. But the neshama, the spark of the neshama has been extinguished. The heart is no longer there. The desire to move their life forward somehow has been fundamentally extinguished. And the Rebbe says, to a certain degree, I worry about that dynamic as much as I worry about the dynamic of Rahman al-Islam, people taking their lives. Because someone takes their life, that's chas v'shalom, but that takes place in a moment. It's done in a moment. A person dies a slow death of apathy that could go on and on for years. Now I'll say it's so profound how the Rebbe sees that in his time, the greatest challenge, it's interesting, right? The greatest challenge was not that people aren't learning enough, they're not davening enough, not giving enough tzedakah. The greatest challenge wasn't Shabbos or Kashrus or whatever, lace top shaitels, whatever the burning issues of the day, it wasn't it. It was apathy. And I'll say, by the way, how incredible is it that as much as times change, they stay the same, right? If you think about what's our greatest challenge today, our greatest challenge is not learning, right? You could learn, you could have zero background, you could not know Hebrew from Swahili, and you could still finish the entire Shas, right? You could learn anything you want in today's day and age, and you have multiple points of access, right? It doesn't mean you want it in a book form, you want it in a tablet form, you want it on your phone, you want an app, you want someone to read it to you want someone to sing it to you, whatever you want, you can find it, right? Observance, say, it's not like it used to be. Not like it used to be. I remember my grandfather's, I don't remember, but I was told the stories. My grandfather's Zichrono Livracha, when he was just fired from the war, when he came out after the war, they settled first in the Bronx before they went to Vineland, New Jersey. And every Erev Shabbos, my grandfather was told by his employer, if you don't come to work on Shabbos, you do not have a job on Monday. And my grandfather, Zichrono Livracha, lost his job every single Erev Shabbos. He would not work on Shabbos. So you don't have a parnos on Monday? Shabbos is Shabbos. Nothing in this world could trump Shabbos. We don't have that. You could do whatever you want in this world. You really can. You could do whatever you want. You used to be a doctor. Okay, there are Shomer Shabbos residencies. You literally live in a time where, as a frum Jew, you could do whatever. So what's the challenge? Day school tuition? Okay, that's a solid one, right? That is a solid one. But that's a financial one. The great challenge is the same challenge that Piacezna talks about. It's apathy. It's apathy. That we go through life, and we just coast. And I'm not referring to over here financial or career-wise, because that I think we often have a drive to be successful. But certainly in our religiosity, in our spirituality, how many times do we find that I'm at the same point now that I was a year ago? Right? Chas v'shalom, Rahman al-Islam. In other words, I have to be able to point to incremental growth in my life, and real growth. And if there's not real growth, what is that attributable? What is that attributable to? The Piacezna would say if there's not real growth, that's apathy. And the Rebbe says, this is so profound. And what's apathy? Apathy is a slow death. Apathy is slow death. So there's taking your life, chas v'shalom, which is once and right, quick and finite, and then ultimately again there's apathy, which represents a slow, ongoing death. And the difference is, often the Rebbe says, you don't even know that it's happening. You don't. I will say, it's important to understand the definition of apathy. Right? What is the definition of apathy? And this is going to be, I think, and this might be maybe a little too extreme. The definition of apathy is, if you're the same person today that you were yesterday, you're suffering from a mild case of apathy. If you're the same person this week as you were last week, you have a little bit more advanced stage apathy. If you're the same person you were from a month ago, you really need help. And if I'm the same person I was a year ago or more ago, then chas v'shalom rachmana litzlan, it may be terminal. Maybe terminal. That's how profound the Piacezna says apathy is. Once you settle into it, it just becomes a slow death. And we know why, because what happens with apathy, right? Well, I will say, what's the mile of apathy? What's the mile of apathy?
Don't care.
Right? You don't care. The mile of apathy is, it's actually not a bad space to live in. You know, you're kind of happy, you're content, you dull yourself, right? You dull yourself to everything. You just don't think, you're numb. You just don't think about stuff so much, right? And it's nice, it's beautiful weather, the sun rising, I had a good time, dinner was nice, right? The fries are great, you know, so it's fine. You know, life is, apathy doesn't mean like I don't care about anything. I care about a lot of things. I just don't care about my neshama, and I just don't care about advancing my ruchnius. And the Piacezna says that is a slow death. And so the world, says the Piacezna, is preoccupied with, unfortunately, the wave of suicides because of this great financial setback. But just as concerning as the wave of suicides, Rahmana litzlan, are the masses and hordes of people who are dying a slow death, the death of apathy. And I will say we have to go for that personal checkup. Am I the same person today as I was yesterday, last week, last month, last year? And if the answer to that is yes, as long as I quickly self-diagnose and do something to get out of that, then I could save myself. But chas v'shalom, after enough time, it just becomes terminal, and that slow death simply becomes the norm for my existence. A very, very heavy piece. He finishes off. He says, "Hanochi huzal behefkreslo." After enough time of apathy, of sustained apathy, I just simply begin to lose my sense of self. Right? I don't have a sense of self anymore. Ve'ino kedai letapabo v'lido gavura. And I will say this is actually quite scary. Furthermore, Piacezna says when a person finds themselves in the grips of apathy, sometimes there's nothing you could do to help them. I will say this is very profound. Very profound. You know, we always want to be able to help people who are struggling. Apathy is the one thing only you could shake yourself out of that. Someone else can't shake you out of apathy. Someone else can't make you care about your life. Someone else can't make you shake off that life apathy. You have to choose it. So the Piacezna says, and it's a very scary statement, the Piacezna says that sometimes if a person is suffering from terminal apathy and they show no desire to turn things around, sometimes there's nothing even that I could do for that individual. Karirus bakol af ba'atzmuso. Because ultimately what apathy yields is, we'll say it's actually karirus bakol. What's karirus bakol mean? Cold. Or numbness. Everything is numb. Like it's kind of like, you know, when your hands are cold, right? After a while, they're so cold you just don't feel anything. So after a period of sustained apathy, it's just curious. I just don't feel anything. Af ba'atzmuso. I don't even feel anything about my sense of self. So I will say a really profound idea that Piacezna tells us. And I will say, you see this concept, by the way, in throughout all of Chassidus. You know, I think we mentioned this. Did we have shir last week? No. 2 weeks ago. So I think we mentioned Rabbi Nachman 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, it's Rabbi Nachman's most famous, well-known statement of Ein Shum Yeyosh Ba'olam Klal. Right? Rabbi Nachman says there's no such thing as Yeyosh. Well, Rabbi Nachman writes, before we get to that, Rabbi Nachman writes the most dangerous thing in life is Yeyosh. So what's Yeyosh? So we often translate Yeyosh as despair. as despair. Now, the truth is, generally what Yesh is understood to mean is a sense of sadness that is engendered by failure. I fail in life. I'm so upset at myself. I'm so disappointed in myself that I give up. That's Yesh. That's Yesh. And the Rebbe says, the most dangerous tool that the Yetzer Hara has in his arsenal is not the enticement to sin. The most dangerous tool the Yetzer Hara has in his arsenal is Yesh. If the Yetzer Hara can get you to give up on yourself, he's done. That's a win. Because remember, if the Yetzer Hara gets me to go ahead and do an Avera, right? What does the Yetzer Hara get? What's the notch on his belt? What does he get? He got one Avera. Okay, shkoyach. That's a slow day for the Yetzer Hara. He just got one Avera. If he gets me to buy into a mindset of Yesh, then what? Then I'm done. Then that opens the door for everything. So the Rebbe says, people think the Yetzer Hara is trying to entice you to sin. No, that's like small potatoes. Small potatoes? Small fries. I know it was in the potato family. Right, small fries. Right? Small potatoes. Small fries. I mean, there are small potatoes. It's a factually true statement. Yeah. Okay, small fries. Right? That's small fries. But if the Yetzer Hara could get me to buy in to a mindset of Yesh, so that effectively I just give up, then I'm done, and he wins. So I've often thought about this, and I think the Piacezna highlights this, that there's another piece to Yesh. Yesh doesn't just have to mean sadness. Yesh could also mean apathy. Apathy, because they're very much related. In other words, once I become so tzibrachim, like so sad and so broken because I'm beating myself up over my failures, so then I feel a sense of despair, sadness. And what does despair and sadness go ahead and yield? What does that breed? What does it breed? Apathy. Kariros. It breeds apathy. And once there's apathy, I'm done. So I just want to tell you something amazing, because I don't know, it's almost... And this is going to sound a little bit strange. I've been thinking about this a little bit, and I'm trying to kind of like formulate this a little bit better for Elo, because I feel like it's a pathway of avodah that we have to try to take. Think about this in just a moment, right? Person commits an avera, right? Think about an avera you have committed, not you want to commit, right? If an avera you have committed, right? Okay, now wipe the smile off your face, right? Right? So think about an avera you've committed. So think about this, right? I sin. Okay, what's the process? So now I sinned. Okay, I want to make this right. What should I do? Shabbos say. So again, the truth is, we have the Rambam's model of tshuva, right? There's a whole model. We've spoken about it many times. The steps. This is actually also just a little plug. On Shabbos afternoons, the Yalkut Yosef Chaburah. We learned Yalkut Yosef for about half a minute, right? And we're doing Rambam Hilchos Tshuva. It's okay. It's still Sephardic. See, even Ashkenazim are invited to it. It's fantastic. We started Hilchos Tshuva a couple of weeks ago. We're only up to kind of like Tzidkas HaTzadik. We're up to and there's cake and coffee. I think we're only up to Parak Aleph Halacha Gimel. Yes, no shikik. This actually has the best that year. Next to this year has the best refreshments. So I'll say, right, I commit an avera. So my mindset is okay. My Modian mode of thinking kicks in. All right, I know the steps of tshuva. Right, there has to be akar sachet, a recognition that I did it. There has to be charata, remorse. Aziva sachet, obviously I have to stop doing it. Right, avidui, confession. Kabbalah ala asid, I promise not to do it again. I think, and you can feel free to absolutely disagree with this, but I think in the world of Chassidus, there is the first step after sin. The first step after sin is simcha. Now, let me finish the sentence. Right? The first step after sin is simcha. Because it's almost as if in the aftermath of Avera, you have to engage in triage. Right? There's a lot of stuff. I come in Avera, there's like a lot of stuff that happened. But what's the greatest existential threat to me right now in the aftermath of sin? The greatest existential threat is that I'm going to fall into a sense of yeush, of despair, and ultimately into apathy. In the aftermath of sin, the first step you have to do is you have to treat the patient's bleeding out on the sidewalk, right? So the patient's bleeding out. He also broke his arm. Don't spend your time, right? Moshe Dov, correct me if I'm wrong, right? Don't spend your time splinting the arm. Right? Stop the bleed. When I commit an avera, there is an intense bleed. That bleed is yeyosh. That bleed is, oh my God, I can't believe I did it again. And for those of us who are repeat offenders, right? The pain is palpable. I know you ever have an experience like this of an avera that you've been struggling with for years, and you promise yourself, I'm not doing this again. And then again, you were good for a while, and then you relapse. The shame that is there, the palpable pain that is there, the disappointment. All you want to do is go into a corner, go into the fetal position, and cry myself into oblivion. I'm so disgusted by myself. I'm so upset at myself. I can't believe this happened again. In that moment, what the Olam Chassidus would say is, no. Jump up and down for joy. Say, you know what? I got this. I can do this. Next time is going to be better. I'm not falling into Yeosh. I'm not falling into apathy. I am great. I am pure. I am holy. I get second chances. Hashem loves me. I'm going to make it great. I can make of myself something beautiful. Before you even start anything to do with tshuva, stop the bleed. Stop the bleed. Stop the Yeosh. Stop the apathy. And I think it's a different model of tshuva. I think I think I think that so many times the reason why we're not really able to pull tshuva together, right? If you think about it, like in a complete way, I think a lot of us we're kind of like quasi bali tshuva. We're like kind of there. We started, we stopped. Weekend bali tshuva. Recreational bali tshuva. We kind of elul bali tshuva. I get it. Why do we never, why don't I make it to the finish line of my tshuva? Why is that? I'm just saying to myself, why is it? I know, it's, the good news is, I could say that in my al-chaitz, when I get to slichas, one thing I could say is, I have not explored any new averos. I'm very proud of myself. I have not broadened my sin horizons. Good news. What's the bad news? I'm still doing the same stuff. The stuff that I did, that I apologized for last year, that I did tshuva for last year, that I even tried to put a plan into place last year. So again, good news is, it's not like I'm dabbling in Gid Anosha, or something like that, or like wearing shatnez, Matzah Shabbos, the Tov pizza, I'm not whatever. There's not really like Parim Chadoshos Bo Lakan. But it's the same stuff. It's the same stuff over. So what happens? Why does the process stall out? Because I think that somewhere, somehow, the Yeosh does set in. The apathy sets in, the career sets in, and there's that moment where I'm like, nah, I'm not really going to change this. All right, I'll try a little bit here, try a little bit there. But at the end of the day, I think that for many of us, there's a piece of us that just gives up somewhere along the way. And so the Piacezna, Rabbi Nachman, are all saying the same thing. In the aftermath of sin, I know it's going to sound strange. The first step in the aftermath of Avera is a rikud. Do a little dance. Make a l'chaim. Say l'chaim ribano shel olam to second chances, or 202nd chances. Right? L'chaim ribano shel olam to the new me, because I am right about to reinvent something ridiculously amazing. I am right about to do something absolutely magnificent. Whatever you do, don't wallow in it. Whatever you do, don't lose yourself in the pain. Now, again, to be clear, you can't spend your life drinking l'chaims as much as we would like to, right? But the Maisa, so you do. I have to engage in the process of tshuva, right? And again, I'm going to have to go back and revisit the sin. I'm going to have to unpack all of the difficulty, all the dirty laundry. I'm going to have to go through all of the steps. But maybe the first step is simcha. Because what that does is it just. Otherwise, I'm standing at the edge of the cliff of Yeosh and apathy. I'm standing at the edge of that cliff. If I don't pull myself back, two hands, jerk myself back, I run the risk of falling off. And if I fall off, no tshuva in the world is going to help me get back on my feet. Masha Inkain, if I just give myself a booster shot, like an EpiPen, right? An EpiPen, like a lahavdil, like a Narcan of simcha, right? Like a lahavdil, right? So I'm saying, but that's what you need. That's what you need. I know to some of you this might sound like that's ridiculous. That doesn't sound like tshuva, because tshuva is supposed to be heavy, and tshuva is supposed to be heartbreaking, and tshuva is supposed to be arduous. Okay. that means just like many of you have flawed chinuch. So good you came. So now you're going to relearn new things, Mir Hashem, right? But the goal over here is that little booster of simcha, right? That little booster of simcha allows me to pull myself back from the edge, so that in Mir Hashem I actually have the opportunity to do tshuva.
Isn't that a little bit the idea of the simcha you're supposed to have on Yom Kippur? That's the
You're
entire concept.
correct.
There is no yesh.
It's interesting.
Even if you're the same way you were a year or 2 years.
Right.
3 years.
There's the simcha of Yom Kippur. Right? Yom Kippur is even like a different kind of animal, because Yom Kippur is forgiveness. This is even different. We're not even talking about forgiveness. Doesn't even come into the discussion over here. This is just about me recognizing I'm not done. I messed up badly, but I'm not done. There's more to my story. There's more to my life. There's more to my future. There are more chapters. I got this. I messed up badly, but I'm not going to utilize my energy feeling horrible, because that's not going to get me anywhere. All that's going to do is it's going to plunge me down a deep, dark hole. So you're right. Yom Kippur is even bigger, because Yom Kippur says, Salachti. Incredible. That's it, salachti. And especially if you go like Rebbe and Yuma, that that the day itself is mechaper, even if you do nothing, that's already a different darga. But to get to Yom Kippur, you have to show up to Yom Kippur. The problem is how many people don't even show up to Yom Kippur. I don't mean physically. Physically we're there. But emotionally, spiritually, we're not showing up for Yom Kippur. We're not. I always found it amazing. Like, I said, do you know the... The number. Well, I'm not going to say it. Okay, it's different. No. All right, fine. No. It's not important. It's secondary. Good. Okay, so let's go back to it. Chavav. Okay. Yeah.
Phones are off now.
Yeah, I know. Everybody's listening. Chavav. I will say. Let's go.
What would be an example of falling off the edge where you're not able to get back?
It's an emotional state where a person just feels that they are so broken. They're so broken, and they're such damaged goods that they don't feel that there's any hope for a future for themselves. So it's not per se like an example of if you do this. It's more that people go through life, they make mistakes, and they feel there's no coming back from this mistake. When you feel like that, when you feel that about yourself, then there's Yesh. And the Rebbe says, the crazy part I will say is, how many people are in this chronic state of apathy? Dying a slow death, and you can see, in other words, we think about it, you could be apathetic and still kind of be happy, right? We know plenty of apathetic people who are happy, they seem to enjoy life. The Rebbe says, just understand, you might enjoy aspects of life, but from a spiritual perspective, it's a slow death. So the idea, yes?
So, all through this, you never said the word depression. Kind of depression, general depression. You're differentiating.
Right, that's I purposely, because essentially clinical depression is a state. It's an illness. It's an illness no different than cancer. So a person who suffers from clinical depression, so then there are circumstances beyond their control. So that's why we're staying away from that. Dafka staying away from that. Correct, absolutely. That's why Dafka don't want to. That's why even for Yeyosh, I don't like to use the word depression, because especially when a person suffers from depression, people who don't understand depression, they're like, oh, you're depressed? Just feel better. Cheer up. As almost like, I never thought about that, right? My whole life, I've been depressed. No one ever told me just to cheer up, right? It's literally like telling a person who has cancer, come on, just get better. Stop it already. Stop being sick all the time, right? Stop being sick all the time and just get better. So that's why I purposely leave that word out. And again, even though within depression, there's clinical depression, but there's also, again, even if I don't suffer from clinical depression, I can get depressed. And obviously those are two very different things. But because they're often used interchangeably, I want to dafka even stay away from that. All right, both say chavav. Let's go. We'll say. So now the Piacezna goes on. I will say this is actually an incredible piece, and this is going to tie very much into B'nai Machshava Tova. This is very exciting. We have a couple of minutes. We'll get started on it. The Rebbe says like this: Tameani. Listen to what he says. Tameani. Lama ze ein marishim kol kach b'shah sheholchem l'shalashudis kimo shemarishim b'shah sheholchem l'kol nidrei. The Rebbe says, I don't understand one thing. This is what the Piacezna struggled with. I don't understand why there's not as much of a rash. Now, rash literally means noise, commotion. But what it means is like an excitement, but like an anxious excitement. I don't understand why there's not the same level of anxiety, excitement, noise, commotion when people go into Shalosh Shudas like there is when people go into Kol Nidrei. I will say, you know that feeling when you go into Kol Nidrei, right? I'm not talking about the feeling when you sit down and listen to the drasha, right, and fall into the deepest sleep of the year, right? After that, right? After that long meal, that big meal, and that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about that feeling when you come to Kol Nidrei and like you feel like the sun's going down, like you feel like something major is happening. So the Piacezna says, if only the world knew what was happening at Shalosh Shudas, and they would understand that the koach of Shalosh Shudas is just a Kol Nidrei. So also, remember again, we had this by B'nai Machshava Tova. The Piacezna, remember the chariots, right? The chariots, right? The Piacezna described that by the time, beautiful, Chassidus the Piacezna, right? That by the time you get to Shalosh Shudas, he says, if you open your up by Shalosh Shudas, you will feel the Ribono Shel Olam and his chariots literally again coursing through the entire area of Shalosh Shudas. Incredible. So the Rebbe will say, this is actually a very heavy piece. Well, at least started tonight. He says, Yesh shalosh sudos, shemamish eni motzili makom. The Rebbe says, sometimes I get the Shalosh Shudas and I can't find a spot for myself. Now, I would say, he does not mean that no one saved him a seat, right? He's the Piacezna, he's the Rebbe, he's got a seat. I think they even took his challahs out of the plastic bags before he sat down. But again, different discussion. And I would say, so what happens? So what happened? They did not have exile in Piacezna either. Fish balls with the jelly, yes. Yeah.
That's why people aren't excited. That's the answer.
It's the menu. It's the menu that did it. It's true. I don't know, right? It's true. I don't know where the Shalosh Shudas menu went downhill so quickly. Yeah. Yeah, we do have to change that. Tzvi, what's for Shalosh Shudas this week? Leftovers. All right. By the way, not be bad. All right. We already... I'm sorry? Sounds good. Good. Thank you. Up it. We're trying to up it. Okay. So the Piacezna says sometimes I come to Shalosh Shudas and I can't find a spot. The Rebbe saying now it's not referring to a physical spot. The Rebbe says that sometimes I come to Shalosh Shudas and I feel so overwhelmed by the experience that I can't find myself. I can't find the space for myself in Shalosh Shudas. He says, look what he writes. He says, Domeli kiloat ata haisi mustar. He says, sometimes I feel like up until the Shalosh Shudas, I was totally hidden from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Always starti atzmi megin Hashem. Either I was hidden from Hashem, or I hid myself from Hashem. The ata hineni nimtza lefanav yisparach panim el panim. So I will say, this is wild. So first of all, just to understand how the Piacezna describes Shalosh Shudas. So I will say, what is Shalosh Shudas? What is Shalosh Shudas? So in the sermon it's brought down, Shabbos is a chasana. Shabbos is a wedding between Klal Yisrael and HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right? So again, by Kabbalah Shabbos, we have the Badekin, right? And on Shabbos morning, right, by davening, by Musaf, you have the chuppah, and then by Shalosh Shudas is the yichud room. Shalosh Shudas is yichud, right? After a chassan and kala get married, after the chuppah is over, they go into seclusion with each other, their first time alone as husband and wife. And to a certain degree, those moments are almost like the purest moments of intimacy that they're ever going to share with each other. It's pure, it's unadulterated, it's complete love with nothing else. So the Svarim explained that Shalosh Shudas. Shalosh Shudas is Ravin Shalosh Shudas is the Yichud room. Shalosh Shudas is, the Gemara calls it, is Suda of David HaMelech. It is Shalosh Shudas is it's the highest level of spiritual intimacy with Moshe. This, by the way, is just as an aside. That's it's important. I just as a personal admission, one of the things I struggle with most in shul in general is shushing. I don't like shushing. And the reason, but I don't like shushing for a different reason. I don't like shushing because, to me, it actually warms my heart when Yidden talk to each other. Like, I love it. I wish I didn't do it during Torah, during Leining, or during Musaf, or during Kedusha, during Baruch Hu, or during Shema, during Pesukei de Zimra, or during Mil Shmona Esrei, right? I wish it was done at different times, but like, I never really understood like the angry reactions to talking during davening. Like, if Jews are talking, that means there's achdus. And where there's achdus, there's shechina. I guarantee, like the mashal I gave, like, you know how, like, I think every parent has this moment. I know I've had many of these moments where, like, I think you spoke about this recently. You come home Shabbos night, and you're looking forward a whole week to Shabbos night. And what happens? You start singing Shalom Aleichem, right? And in your mind, you built up this. What is the Shalom Aleichem going to be? This Shalom Aleichem, like, everybody is going to be around the table, eyes closed, swaying. The malachim going, no, we don't want to leave. We want to stay here the whole time. And the ushpizin are coming down, and everybody's coming down. And then Eishes Chayil, you're going to lock eyes with your wife, and it's going to be just like the chuppah, and it's beautiful, and it's wonderful. And then it tells them that Hamotzi Lech Amam is going to feel the Ribbon Shalom, the Creator. And meanwhile, what happens? You get out, Shalom Aleichem, and all Gehenna breaks loose, right? If you have young kids, they're running around, right? This talking, constant. It's like, hello, people, does anyone see that, like, I'm singing over here? It's okay, you don't want to sing, don't sing. But does anyone actually see, right? That someone, a human being, is singing Shalom Aleichem right over here, in front of you. I'm sitting right next to you. Lower the decibel level a little bit. Just pretend I'm in the room, right? Pretend. But then, you know what? Then the truth is, when you get a little bit older and you recognize that, you know what? There is a beauty in the chaos. There's a beauty in the chaos. It's like, my kids are talking to each other? Okay. It's pretty good. Right? People are laughing. They're having a good time. I would love if it happened like 7 minutes later. It'd be great, I do all the same thing. But there's a beauty to it. There really is a beauty to it. So I will say, so it's kind of like the same thing. Again, I want to go on the record. Not good to talk during davening, but you have. But again, what it means to be a member of Klal Yisrael is you have to be malamed tzchus on Klal Yisrael for everything. And if Klal Yisrael is talking during davening, what you have to be able to see in that is not people they don't care about davening. No, everybody cares about davening, but they also love each other. Sometimes you love someone so much that you need to tell them something right in the middle of kedusha. Now again, not good, but it's a shtickle mitzvah. Mostly the reason I'm sharing this is because it happens that during Shalashudis also, right? Shalashudis becomes like it's kind of like poker night without the cards, right? In other words, everyone's around the table. They're like schmoozing. So I'm not going to lie. There are times I want to say to myself, Chevra, do you know like what's happening in Shamayim right now? Do you know what it's not, or even during Zmiras, this one's talking, that one's talking, like, what? So again, it's because we don't understand what's happening during Shalashudis. We don't understand that. If we did, again, plus, it's beautiful to see Yidden love each other and to talk with each other. But the Piacezna says, it's incredible. Piacezna equates Shalashudis with Kol Nidre. Right? People say, even the biggest talkers in Shul, I would imagine, generally, Kol Nidre, they have it together. Maybe not by Ma'ariv, right? Already, but at least, Kol Nidre, pretty much everybody's on. The Rebbe says, do you understand what's happening in Shalosh Hodis? Do you understand what's happening in Shalosh Hodis? I come into Shalosh Hodis, the Rebbe says, and I'm overwhelmed. I can't find myself. I can't find my bearings. I don't know how, essentially what he's describing over here is, I don't know how to come face to face with the Shekhinah. I don't know how to do it. And as such, I find myself, that's Shalosh Hodis. So we'll have to stop here for tonight. I'm leaving you on the Shalosh Hodis cliffhanger. Yes, the Chaburah.
A little bit of a contrast. There's this young man that I trying to help out. He's about 19 years old, and his Avodas Hashem needs a lot of help. So I asked him. I said, "Tell me, what is it that?"
Don't talk about me in public.
19.
Take it. I thought you said 49. Sorry.
So I asked him. I said, "What is it that really caused you to really feel this negative about Yiddishkeit?" He said, "Shalashudis." Wow. That's exactly what he said. What is it? You finished it.
Excel.
What was it? And they just gave me a look. And then, as I'm reading this, I understood it back then also, is because Shalshud is forced to come to grips with himself.
Right.
Which he's having a very difficult time to do. Besides coming to grips, trying to apply to his wedding show. So when he said that, it sounds a little crazy, but after a while I thought about it made perfect sense.
It's beautiful, and we're going to see. We only scraped we skimmed the surface. We're going to see how the Piacezna describes Shalosh Shudas and what happens during Shalosh Shudas and what it means to encounter the divine during Shalosh Shudas. Both say Mir Hashem. Next week, Shkoyach everyone. Shkoyach, a good night of Shabbos.